Whispering Tactician, back with another video. And before we get into this tactical review, please hit the like button. Honestly, it helps the channel so much. Comment down below, let me know what you thought of the final. And of course, subscribe to the channel. This is how Italy beat England to win Euro 2020. Okay. Let's first of all look at the starting lineup. England went with something very different. They went with a 5 at the back, Shaw and Trippier as wingbacks, Maguire, Stones and Walker in the middle, and Rice and Phillips in midfield, Sterling, Kane and Mount up top. Now this shape was very influential in the way that England played. Sometimes it changed, but again we'll be reviewing all of that. Stay locked in to the channel. So we've looked at the England lineup. Let's have a look at how Italy set up. Italy set up in a 4-3-3 shape. Donnarumma in goal, Emerson at left back, Chiellini and Bonucci at centre back, Di Lorenzo at right back, Jorginho, Barella and Fratti as the midfield three, and Insigne, Immobile and Chiesa up top. I was slightly not confused, but I didn't expect Chiesa to start. But he did, and he had a decent game. But anyway, let's have a look at the first thing to highlight, which was the shape for Italy and the defensive shape for England. So Italy set up in their 4-3-3 shape, but it wasn't an orthodox 4-3-3. Italy set up their defensive line, and it transitioned into a 3 at the back. This is just at the start of the game. You can see there the 3 there, Di Lorenzo's tucked in to make the 3 at the back, and their fullbacks are going very well, not higher, but they're higher than the defensive line. England, you can see there's 3 players in front of the midfield, blocking off the passing lanes in between there. At this point, England forced Italy to go long, but you can see the intent from England, and it was good. I was very impressed. And it's only 20 seconds into the game, but we've analysed the shape of England. Now, here we can see Pickford is playing the ball out, and we can kind of see what Italy were trying to do. They were trying to go man for man. Maguire has the ball, and Shaw needs to come deep for it, but because Shaw's man is Chiesa drops deep. Right, so we can see he was a bit man for man, right? So let's analyse how England went 1-0 up. And it was good play, right? It's very good play. But we're going to see exactly how this happened. So the initial ball comes from a corner kick. It's cleared out. And I think Sterling gets his head to it, and it falls to Luke Shaw at the edge of, behind him a bit. So it falls to him, and Luke Shaw builds out from the back. He evades the press of the Italy winger, the Chiesa, and England build out. They press, and they evade the press. Now you can see Harry Kane has the ball. At this point, this is how England actually score the goal, right? Because they have a lot of space to hit, right? They've got Trippier and Walker on that side that they can exploit and pass the ball to at this point in time. So that's what Harry Kane does, and the goal is scored because of several different movements. Kyle Walker overlaps Trippier. Raheem Sterling makes a very good run on the outside of Bonucci, and Harry Kane also occupies a similar space in behind him. It drags that defense across so much that everyone's kind of congested in the same space. But Trippier plays a brilliant ball to Luke Shaw, ball's very good as well. It kind of falls onto Luke Shaw's leg almost. A very, very good cross, right? Falls onto his leg, and Luke Shaw strikes it so perfectly past Donnarumma, and it's 1-0. But a lot of movement occurred within this, 15 to 20 second span for this goal to happen. We'll see Kyle Walker overlapping, allowing Trippier to get the cross off. Also, Raheem Sterling's movement inside of Bonucci, and also Harry Kane making the run behind him as well. So everyone kind of has to come into an internal space. We can see an aerial view here when Harry Kane receives the ball. There's still a lot of work to be done. It's the movement of all these players that is the most beautiful thing, is that you can score a goal from a cross, but if players are actually making good movements off the ball to allow the cross to go in, and for the spare man to basically have a shot, that is the most beautiful thing. And what England did here was very good. Luke Shaw scores a goal, wing back to wing back. It's a brilliant, brilliant sight, and England are 1-0 up. Right, I'm extremely happy at this point because we started very well. England have started very well, and Italy seem very confused. Again, after the goal now, we can see 7 minutes in, Italy stay with that 3 at the back shape. England are very narrow and are cutting the passing lanes off to Jorginho. Right, now Barella drops deep at this point in time. Guess what happens? Mount follows him along because Mount is tasked with the to follow Barella along, basically, right? England also had opportunities where they played balls in behind, and England started off very well. I was very impressed. Like I said, playing balls in behind, we can see how high Trippier is. Like I said before, this is not a back five. It was basically a 4-2-3-1, the same formation, but Trippier kind of threw them off a bit, right? Only when they were defending was it a back five, right? So now we can see Italy start picking the ball up, and they start distributing the ball to their midfielders. Jorginho drops a bit deeper, and this is the ability of Jorginho. What he can do, he can ping balls into the spaces. This is what England had to be wary of. Their midfield actually getting the time and space to put balls into the channels for their fullbacks or their wingers to run onto. Now, unfortunately for them, this was offside, but the warning signs were there about how Italy could carve England open at times, right? Even with 5 at the back. Now, this is just an example of the pressing and the man-to-man system that they had. Italy are pressing up top here, gets moved out to Walker. Insigne comes across to press Walker, and when Trippier gets on the ball, which he does in a second, the fullback moves over to press him. The whole game plan for Italy was a man-to-man pressing system. And again, you can see that Chiellini comes over to Harry Kane to stop him because he's tasked with closing down Harry Kane at this point in time. It was very much man-to-man. Chiesa on Harry Maguire. Everything was man-to-man. Now when England have the ball in the situation, Italy don't want to press too much, but you can tell the system here is just right. We've got to press these guys. Declan Rice has dropped into the hole. What does Barella do? Follows him along. The whole game plan was a man-to-man system for Italy. Now, at times when England did get up, right, we can see that 3 at the back shape for solidity. We can see Walker, Stones, and Maguire. But how high, as you can see there, is Trippier. Trippier is the outball. He was not part of the back 5 in build-up. Again, more photos here of how deep England were at times. This is how Italy started to get back into the game. If you're so deep in it, especially in a final against a team that can dominate the ball is bad. And you can see again, Italy are doing a very similar thing. Their fullback isn't part of the back three, so how high is he in this system? He's there to receive the ball, right? This is another instance where England also had a chance. The ball gets kicked up, Harry Kane nods it on, and I think the ball goes to Sterling, and Sterling passes it off to Mason Mount, and Sterling makes a brilliant run. If Mason Mount gets a better pass on it, it goes into the path of Sterling, and Sterling's probably able to have a good shot on goal. But as you can see here, Mount receives it, does a reverse pass, a good idea, but the execution wasn't so good, and I think Bonucci intercepts it, and it leads to nothing. But England did trouble Italy in the first half. They were very good. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with the shape, with everything we could see, we've analysed so far. I wasn't so disappointed, but you can see the remnants of how Italy started to get back into the game. Again, we can see here, England have that shape, that three that is blocking off the midfield, and the two midfielders going to press their assigned midfielders as well. You could see all of this over the pitch, guys, right? Now, Italy play out of this, and Jorginho's now on the ball. This was a very dangerous, or could have been a very dangerous opportunity because of how much they played out, but the ball goes out to the wide areas for Italy. And I don't think it leads to anything, but this is just how Italy started to get back into the game. They started to play through the press, and it forced England back. That's why they started to set up so narrow, so deep. Again, we can see there Jorginho, who they're tasked with stopping the ball getting to, is now coming deep. And guess what happens? Because Jorginho's now part of the three, their right fullback can push on as well as their left fullback. So now that causes problems for who Mount is going to pick up, which I'll show you in a second. You can still see the England shape, you can still see the Italy shape, but now it's their wide plays that are high and wide, and Jorginho that's dropped into the hole to facilitate the playing out of the back. Now we'll see in the next image now, when it is played out of the back, it's a very interesting thing that happens here. Mount goes out to the fullback. Initially, Mount was tasked with being very narrow and staying on Jorginho, but because he can't do that now, he goes out to the fullback to press him basically, and that's how it is started to change a bit of the way they were playing. Again, something I've highlighted. Look at both their centre backs. Their centre backs are starting to get up into the pitch. They were starting to take control. If both their centre backs are in a half, there's something to worry about there, right? Now Insigne picks up the ball, and I think he plays it into, if I'm not mistaken, he plays it into the wide areas though, and the ball goes in. This was a chance for Italy. Their fullback crosses the ball into Insigne, and Insigne hits the ball, and it's blocked by John Stones, which is a brilliant block. But they started to create chances. This was at the end of the half, but they did, and there was something that had to happen at half time from England to remedy this, because they couldn't keep dropping deep to facilitate how Italy were playing, because it was not going to work. Now at half time comes along, Italy starts to make some changes just after half time because it's not working, and they go with Berardi and Cristante. This changes things because Berardi comes on from Immobile, if I'm not mistaken, and that means that Italy now don't have a particular striker. It's harder to pick up for the centre backs when there is no striker and there's better movement in front of them. We can see there Italy play out of the press, right? And they've played out the press at this point in time. They can face up to England's back line, and they do it very, very well, right? It just forces England back so much at times when they were doing this. But essentially they play the ball through, you can see England's kind of defensive shape is being pulled apart there. It goes wide to Chiesa, and the fullback overlaps Chiesa. This ends up being a chance, by the way. Chiesa puts the ball into Insigne, and Insigne gets a shot off, but it doesn't quite go in. But they were starting to create chances. It was a worry for England. They couldn't keep defending so deep. Look at how deep England are. I could see when I was watching the game, the momentum shift was very real. Like, we needed to take some action. We were just kind of getting bust off the park and dominated very heavily at the start of the second half and into the middle of the second half. And I was very disappointed that Southgate decided not to change it. And look how deep we were now. I get the shape because we were trying to nullify them, but something needed to change now. As we can see there, Italy started to do something where they rotated the person picking the ball up from the defensive unit, and when they do that, it kind of it confuses England a bit, Now, because Verratti was meant to be pressed by one of the England midfielders, they passed off to one of the attackers. It confuses the unit. But anyway, this is how Italy starts to score their goal. Domination. We see the chance that they create. Look at Chiellini at left back, bombing on, right? There's issues that needed to be resolved, because if their centre backs are high up, we need to change something. Something needs to be changed, but it wasn't. Now they scored the goal because of the dominance that they had, and Chiesa gets a cross off. It wasn't a brilliant cross, but it was almost a goal. I think Harry Maguire gets his head to it, but the issue here is that England was so deep, and under the cosh, Italy just made a few tweaks here and there, and they started to dominate the ball with centre backs, playing as wing backs, basically. Look like where Chiellini is. That, to me, that's an issue, right? So Italy get the ball into the box now. When they get the ball into the box, Rice is initially on Bonucci. Now watch Bonucci the whole time. Watch him. We're gonna do a little stop frame here, right? So Bonucci and Rice, they're together now, and this goal comes because Rice loses his man at the corner, and you can kind of tell from the next frame here, when the ball comes through, Rice has his hands on Bonucci, but he's on the wrong side of him. If you play football, you never let, of course, your marker on the goal side of it, because if they make a run and the ball spills out, instantly they have an advantage to either poke the ball home if it comes back, or something similar to that. And that's what happens. Rice loses his man, and Bonucci finds the back of the net. Pickford tries his best, but I don't really blame Rice per se, because sometimes these things happen. Like, sometimes your defender makes a run off of you, or your attacker. But I do think Rice should have done better, and it's 1-0 Italy. Trippier comes off at this point. There's a change that's needed. The change that we needed to make about 10-15 minutes ago is made, and Bukayo Saka comes on because Trippier was now being in a back five, literally. We needed to get up the pitch, but Italy still continue their dominance. Bonucci finds a brilliant crossfield pass into the back line behind England's defence, and I think this is Berardi gets onto the end of it. It marginally goes over. I don't think if he got a better connection on it, that's 2-1, and England are scrambling. But he gets a brilliant, crossfield pass into the back line. It beats Pickford, and it goes over, but it was a good chance. It was just a simple ball, and I could just tell England Italy were just, I think it was more Italy were just growing into the game. They were really doing what they were meant to do from the first minute. However, England disrupted that, but they just controlled the game. They found little pockets, and again, another reason why they won was because they have defenders that just know a bit of the dark arts. If I'm being totally honest, look at Chiellini just pulling, Saka back. Like, if Saka's through on goal, he scores. Like, sometimes the dark arts do help, and they're not nice, but they do help. Again, we can see there Italy on the attack, and I think the ball is crossed, into the box. It's almost a goal, by the way, because if we've got two Italy attackers there, if anybody gets a good connection onto the end of this, and it beats Pickford, it almost goes in. But I think the defender didn't get a great connection onto it, and England get away with it. But Italy just started to create more chances than England. That was the reality of the game, and we can see here one of the chances England did create was a bit of a scrap. Was a bit of a scrappy chance, but Walker throws the ball into the box, and when he throws the ball into the box, it's contested, I think, by Harry Maguire. Ball falls behind them, and I don't know, I can't remember, but I think Harry Kane puts a cross into the box, and Stones almost gets his head onto it. And that was one of the few chances England did create towards the end of the game, and this was in extra time, by the way. But England just didn't have enough to really win over the 120 minutes, or even 90 minutes, but 120 minutes of the game. The game goes on to penalties, and Italy win the game. England miss 3 penalties, but again, as we've analysed here, Italy deserved to win because they just dominated us. Like, they dominated from about, let's say, about 15 minutes they started to grow into the game. They just played better than England. Penalties are just a lottery, really. It's almost like in extra time. I didn't really show a lot of highlights from extra time in my review because it was very much mundane. There were a few chances here and there, but it seemed like both teams were just playing for penalties. Like, England didn't really threaten a lot after some of the things in the second half. So I can't really say we really deserved to win the whole game anyway. The penalties was just a lottery, and unfortunately England lost. And big congratulations, of course, to Italy, because Italy deserved it over the course of the tournament. I predicted them to win from even before I'd seen them kick a ball, because I just believe that their manager was very, very, very good, and I'm extremely happy for Italy, because some of their players are very, very good players. I admire some of their players so much. But yeah, on the night they deserve to win it, and big congratulations to them. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the final tactical review of the Euro 2020 games, the final. And this is how Italy beat England. Hopefully we'll have more tactical reviews coming up. Again, as I said, hit the like button if you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you very much for watching.